All right, I see. Looks like my mic is coming through okay. Do I sound okay, everyone? How are things? Mic check, mic check. Check 1, 2. Alrighty. So, good evening and welcome to Lore Equals Gameplay episode 19. Chill and Slumber, first time chat. Thanks for joining me. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for being a part of the community. Blizzrad, good to see you, brother. How you doing? So I'm going to keep looking over at the screen because that's where OBS is, over on my right-hand screen, just because that's how I monitor chat. And I've got the Galactapedia update right here in front of me. So if this is your first time coming and hanging out for Lore Equals Gameplay, what I do on this show is I go... most episodes I go through the Galactapedia update. For the month, I'm behind because December and January were wild months for me. Hey, Chef Pasta 07, good to see you again, buddy. How you doing? Yeah, better. Yeah, glad to be back and podcasting and doing the shows because this is my therapy. This is how I decompress and de-stress. So yeah. If you weren't with Naz and I for the podcast for Pathfinders last night, just to give you a quick update before we get into the show. So in October, my wife and I found out that she's pregnant. That was planned. We totally intended. Hey, Chill and Slumber with the Prime sub. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. Very generous of you. Just remind everyone, we are always raising money for StackUp.org. So any and all monetization I receive goes to StackUp.org in its entirety. I take no money for myself, and when I do donate the payouts that I get, I even top it up to the next $50 up. So that's that Prime sub will go directly to StackUp.org. Really appreciate it. And we've got new goals starting off the new year for StackUp.org. But yeah, so in October, found out that we were pregnant, was planned. And we're very excited. In November, the week of Thanksgiving, found out that we're having twins, dos babies, and we already have a 2-year-old. We had planned on having 2 children. Now we're having 3. Yeah, thank you very much, Slumber. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been an emotional roller coaster. We're super excited, but it does change everything. And so. The house that we bought here in Boise, we had bought planning on having 2 kids, and we had budgeted and everything, and decided now was a good time to get pregnant because we were like, oh yeah, we can afford childcare for 2 kids. We're good to go. We're in a good spot in our careers and such, and we definitely can't afford childcare for 3 kids. Not going to happen. Not in Boise, not with how expensive things have gotten. Yeah, no, yeah, I can only imagine 4 kids. Woo! Oh boy. Yeah, and I mean, 1 kid. I love my son to death. He's a great kid. It's rough, but it's amazing. And yeah, Chill and Silver, you know how it is. The childcare situation here in the Treasure Valley, the area that Boise and Nampa are in, has gone. The same way as the housing has gone. It's gotten very competitive and very expensive in the last 5 years. And so we made the difficult decision that we're going to have to move from our house and get a bigger house. We didn't want to leave Southeast Boise. We love where we live. We really like our neighborhood and our house, but we needed something bigger. We can't afford something bigger out here in Southeast Boise because it's one of the most expensive areas to live in. We're a middle-class couple surrounded by upper-middle-class folks. And so we found a great house in West Boise, Northwest Boise area. And so we'll be closing on the sale of this house and closing on the purchase of the new house on the 16th. So there's a lot of work to get ready to put the house up on the market and get ready to move. And that's what I've been doing for the last 6 weeks, is lots of showings, lots of work getting the house ready and everything, lots of looking at other houses and stuff. So it just hasn't been any time for anything Star Citizen or content creation related. But here we are. The deals are locked in. we're comfortable with where we're at, and so I'm back to making content, and I'm feeling good about it. So tonight is episode 19 for the November Galactapedia update, and Wednesday night I'm going to be doing episode 20 of Lore Equals Gameplay, looking at the December Galactapedia update, and then sometime next week or in the next few days, was it on This Week in Star Citizen? I'd have to go back and look. I don't know when the next Galactapedia update, the one for January, should be coming out soon. Chill and Slumber says, totally understandable. We moved here from Nevada in 2019. Yeah, we moved here from in between Reno and Sacramento in spring of 2019. Yeah, we got lucky buying when we did. A VA. I'm a veteran and current Army National Guard, and we were doing. We do well enough that we were able to buy a home thanks to the VA loans and stuff. But yeah, things have gotten nuts. Oh, you were living in Fallon, but grew up in... Yeah, my wife and I were living and working in Reno when we first met. I lived and worked there from 2013 to 2017. We met in 2016. And we moved to California for jobs for a few years and couldn't get out fast enough. Yeah. So if you're not familiar, if you can see behind me, I had this piece of artwork commissioned by... oh gosh, I'm a terrible person. I'm forgetting the name of the artist. They are a Star Citizen backer. They're part of the Astropub community, but I commissioned them to make this art for me. So I'm sort of like RPing as if I'm a student at one of the universities in the Retor system in Star Citizen. And these are the esteemed professors of Star Citizen lore. So you've got Paul Shelley, Astropub. You have Jail over here on my left, and then here in the middle we have Algrid, and they're basically the founding fathers of the Lore Citizen podcast that Astropub, Paul Shelley, produces on the Astro Historian channel. How about those Reno cops? They are hilarious. Yeah, Reno 911 is a very funny show, and it's not all that unrealistic. Reno is a wild place to work in public safety. I was a paramedic there for 4 years. And I also worked per diem in St. Mary's Hospital downtown. And I kid you not, a lot of that stuff is definitely not even loosely based on reality, but hard based on reality. So let's transition into what I call the viewing screen, so that way you guys can see the articles as I pull them up, and as well as the Ark Starmap. Let's see. Ah, that's the song name. Okay. I wonder why the sound alerts are jacked. Great, that's another thing that... Let's see. That is odd. Yeah, sorry about the sound alerts, guys. I'll have to troubleshoot that. Good thing I have an ungodly number of points. All right. So, Lore Equals Gameplay episode 19. So these are written as if they are updates to the Ark. And the Ark is like the interspecies repository of information that the UEE built as sort of like a gesture of goodwill following the fall of the Mezzers, and it's in the TAAC system. It's basically the giant public library for the entire universe. Game over, man. Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna get that one. Yep, I'm gonna put that clip in there for when I die. Good. Someone write that down. So, the Ark TAAC system. Welcome to this month's Galactapedia Update Roundup. Again, this is for November 2023. This month we visit the Xi'an system's Ryla. I always butcher the Xi'an pronunciations, so I'm just going to read it how it kind of looks. Ryla and Ialuth. We meet the second to the last emperor of the first Imperial Age and the first emperor of the second Imperial Age. And this is talking about the Xi'an. and learn about Ninetales from a safe distance. And join the Spectrum thread for any discussion or feedback. So when they post these, you can go to the Spectrum thread for the Galactapedia update, and it will be posted here with all the links. And then if there's any corrections or anything like that, or any feedback, a lot of times Sherry will respond directly. So she's the archivist. She's the one that does the Galactapedia updates. So here we have Jail, this guy right here, commenting, and Sherry responding. Jail says, loving the Xi'an lore. Question, the Luminalia article mentions Xi'an Banu were already in contact in standard Earth year 1927. So what was going on that prevented humans from finding out about the Xi'an from the Banu in the 92 years between Banu-human first contact and human-Xi'an first contact? Had humanity heard about them but never seen them, or had contact broken off, or for some reason the Banu forgot, as is their way? Sherry replies, most Banu didn't really see a reason to tell humans about the Xi'an, or vice versa. The ones involved in trade wouldn't have wanted to introduce potential competitors. There are a lot of other reasons, but I don't want to get too deep into it. Remember that there's not really a unified government behind the Banu, and many Sulis have secrets from one another. Okay, and then just a correction on dates, again from Jail. So cool, let's get into the article. So every Galactapedia update, there's a full-length article, which is several paragraphs long, and then a bunch of short articles. And the short articles are usually about star systems, the planets and moons within them, as well as like specific named locations within those star systems on those bodies, or space stations and such. As well as there's usually a few short articles about different characters within the lore of Star Citizen, and as well as ships. So like here we have articles about the Spirit series. So let's read about Luminalia. Not to be confused with the Ark 2 starring Vin Diesel. Ark 2 starring Vin Diesel. I don't know if I ever watched that. Okay, so Luminalia is a holiday celebrated by both Banu and humans annually on December 22nd. It originated as the irregularly held Banu festival Sikti Ifanga Glow Festival, marked by the lighting of ceremonial lamps that stay lit until their fuel is consumed, about 34,000 beats, which is how the Banu measure time, or 2 standard Earth days. I think a beat is like 5 seconds. Oh, Ark 2, gotcha. Never come out. While the lamps are burning, all Banu, no matter where they are considered one Suli. They invite friends, business associates, and passing strangers into their Sulis and give their guests a gift. In Banu culture, this is so that they will always have something that they could sell. All attendees are expected to provide food, drinks, and/or party favors in return, and if they can't, the host will often have those items available for purchase. Humans in the Davian system began to participate in the festival with Banu shortly after the Banu-Human Interstellar Peace and Trade Accord in 2438. Today, Banu and humans commemorate Luminalia with gift exchanges, present hunts, glowing lights, food and drink, limited time discounts, decorations in green and red, and gatherings of family, friends, business associates, and acquaintances. So really, this isn't alluding to anything specific gameplay related, except for we have a limited presence of Luminalia in game with like the little gifts and stuff, and there's some decoration things that pop up in game. But in the future, just like in any other MMO, there will probably be, when Luminalia starts, you'll see a lot more of a Luminalia holiday presence in certain areas of the Star Citizen universe, and there will be things associated with that event. So, limited time discounts doesn't just apply to the web store for Robert Space Industries. It'll apply in game. So it will encourage you to say, at limited time discounts, maybe there's an item you've been wanting, and you can only find it in Banu-owned businesses, particularly those in Banu, the Banu Protectorate, and it might be worth your while during Luminalia to be in those areas to take advantage of those discounts. There will also be, I'm sure there will be more events in terms of bringing certain goods to help supply the event in certain areas. So it's probably going to also be a good way to earn reputation with different Banu individuals, factions, groups, Sulis, what have you. So something to keep in mind. History. Although its origins are unknown due to the Banu practice of not keeping historical records, Sikti Ifanga has existed as long as, at least as long as the Banu Protectorate has had contact with other civilizations. In Standard Earth Year 1927, a group of Xi'an diplomats participated in a planet-wide celebration of the festival on Trice 1. So, Trice 1 is very interesting, the Trice system in general, because it's a Banu owned and controlled system, essentially in Xi'an space. And we have no idea how or why that came about. I actually made a post about that on Spectrum years ago. I tried to get Sherry to answer. And so we know that the Xi'an have been there long before humanity was even out in space. But we don't know how. Maybe it's due to the fact that the Banu don't keep records, and maybe they've been there for longer than the Xi'an knew about the system before they discovered it. We have no idea. So it's one of those sort of mysteries of the verse. But if you look at it on the star map, we'll actually show it here in a second. Let's do it right now. I'll show you, and you'll be. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "What? Why is that there if they're on the other side of the map?" So let's see, where is it? Here's the Trice system, or Trice system, and as you can see, it is Banu. It is a Banu system way over here in the far corner of the Xi'an Empire, which stretches all the way down here around humanity and probably well back into here. There's probably plenty of systems that we don't know about that are part of the Xi'an Empire. But then the Banu are down here on the complete opposite side of the Star Citizen universe from Trice. How were the Banu getting to here, without bumping into humanity? So yeah, very interesting. Let's see. So, a group of Xi'an diplomats participated in a planet-wide celebration on of the festival on Trice 1. Initially there solely to observe Banu culture, they were surprised to see Banu suddenly hang colorful lanterns, fill them with oil, and light them. When asked what was happening, the Banu explained that it was time for Sikti Afanga and invited the diplomats to join in the festivities. At first they declined, but ultimately relented after repeated requests. They were then laden with gifts in exchange for samples of Xi'an cuisine, which was met with great enthusiasm from the gastronomically curious Banu. The Banu love flavor. It doesn't have to be what we would consider good. They just like things that are unique. And the Xi'an basically are carrion feeders. They like things that are like dead and rotting, fermenting and such. Kind of gross. The Banu are like, oh, this is interesting. This is something different. Additionally, the diplomats witnessed multiple members of two fiercely competitive religious Sulis cheerfully exchange presents with one another. They found this especially intriguing. One diplomat wrote in his report to the emperor, "A curiously convivial spirit has arisen where there was once inter-house rivalry. Gifts pass freely from hand to hand, evidently without malice, even between sworn enemies." Another historically significant Sikti Efanga was held in Standard Earth Year 2441, when the members of a ship repair Suli that had been doing business on Sestulus, Davian II, in the United Nations of Earth, lit their ceremonial lamps and invited humans to come and celebrate with them. In contrast to the cautious Xi'an diplomats, humans did not need to be asked twice, because we love our holidays. For as long as the lanterns burned, Humans were given gifts if they contributed food, drinks, or other items to the celebration. If guests didn't have any items to provide, nearby merchants from other Sulis conveniently, it's just like any other human holiday. It's just a reason to sell stuff, and especially, food. Humans were given gifts if they contributed food, drinks, or other items to the celebration. If guests didn't have any items to provide, nearby merchants from other Sulis conveniently had some for sale at a holiday discount. A discount, right? There's like Walmart memes about that. As more and more humans joined throughout the night, the party eventually grew large enough that it attracted the attention of a local news crew. The resulting story of this raucous celebration involving humans and their then new interstellar neighbors became one of the year's most played clips. By the time the next Sikti Efanga occurred in December 2445, Banner presence on Davian had increased enough that artisans and small business owners located near Sulis noticed a significant boost in sales when festivities began. Mark it up and then discount it back to the original price and say it's on sale. Exactly, Shimpasta. Yeah. This success was enough to convince them to organize a night market event centered around the festival the following year. Although this did not coincide with an actual Sikti Efanga, enough humans and Banu participated in the market that Davian merchants were satisfied with their profits and began to hold Banu holiday events every December. So, initially, it sounds like Sikti Efanga is an every 4 years thing, according to the Banu, but in true Earth fashion, we have to do it every year. True human fashion, just because of the whole standard Earth year thing. Sulis began to light their lamps at the same time as these events to attract business of their own, and humans started throwing private gatherings as an excuse to get together with family and friends. By the dawn of the 26th century, a human Banu hybrid version of Sikti Efanga, dubbed Luminalia by the press because of the lit lanterns, Luminalia or Luminalias are, they're lanterns. Like we used to light them on our driveway for Halloween and Christmas growing up, and it would just be a little votive candle in sand inside of a brown paper bag. Dubbed Luminalia by the press, had become an annual tradition on Davian. As Luminalia increased in popularity, it spread to neighboring systems with less Banu influence and further changed from its original form. Major human-owned corporations started to mass market special oil lamps and items for hosts to gift their guests, and for guests to bring their hosts, lessening the importance of food to the holiday. Other human merchants modified the traditional gift sharing by hiding empty gift wrap packages that could be returned unopened in exchange for a surprise like a few credits or a small toy. The increased foot traffic into their stores increased holiday sales and became a tradition in its own right. A popular ad campaign featuring a Banu excited to host a celebration with their human friends used the colors green and red to represent Luminalia, indelibly associating them with the holiday in the public consciousness. By the mid-26th century, Luminalia celebrations had become so prevalent throughout the UEE that it was officially added to the human calendar in standard Earth year 2557. Yeah, then you light the brown paper bag and put it on your front porch. Yep. Yeah, we put them all along our driveway and then up to the front porch, just to sort of have a little visual guide of the walking path to come get the candy. Yeah. Not the... Wait, you don't film with that. Yeah, don't film with that. Yeah, so Luminalia is an in-game event, and it's an economic one. I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually get Luminalia decorations that you can acquire in-game, and you can take them out of your inventory, to decorate your ship, your hab, your hangar, your outpost or something like that when the time comes. So that way you're celebrating Luminalia. I think that would be kind of fun. But yeah, that's the article on Luminalia. So let's get to the short form articles. The first one is the Ialuth system of preservation. So before we get into the article, let's find Ialuth on the star map. And let's see, where is it? Is it by the other name? Or okay, it's connected to Ryla, Oya, Trace. Okay, so okay, Ialuth. So it's misspelled on the or that's how it's pronounced, maybe? I don't know. Okay, so here it is in the Ark Starmap. Up here in the corner of the Xi'an Empire, essentially to the galactic north of the UEE. And here is Stanton down here. Here is Pyro. And so the closest UEE system would be Oya. But essentially this is what used to be the Perry line. But yeah, you can go from Castra to Oya to Ialuth. But it's connected by what looks like a small jump point to Oya. Otherwise, you'd have to go through a large jump point to Virtus or La'uo to Tohill, or you could go this way to Gurzel. But yeah. So the Ialuth system is only 3 AU. It is a very small star system. So that's interesting. Okay. So the Ialuth system is a planetary system in the Xi'an Empire that consists of a K-type main sequence star, a puffy planet. I have no idea what a puffy planet is. This is the first I've ever heard them mention a puffy planet. So hopefully they have the article for that, whatever that planet is, because I'm very curious about what a puffy planet is. You know, puff, puff, give. I don't know. A smog planet, a terrestrial planet, a gas dwarf, a gas giant, and an asteroid belt. Oh, holy shit. We just got rated by Zero State. Rating with a party of 175. Zero State 07, buddy. Good to see you. Thank you so much for dropping by. Thank you so much for the raid. Really appreciate your support. Hope you had a good stream, buddy. I was really glad to meet you at CitizenCon. It was a lot of fun to hang out and stuff. I hope I'm not going to disappoint the raiders coming from Zero State's stream, but this is a sort of a podcast show that I do looking at the lore of Star Citizen, and we're going through the Galactapedia update for November. So it's not going to be exciting, but basically what I do is I look at the lore articles for the Galactapedia update, and we talk about how the lore, particularly locations and such like that, are relevant to gameplay. And what we can expect, especially from like star systems, locations, factions, ships, all that sort of stuff. Oh, geez. Dark Silver just gifted a tier 1 sub to Zero State. Thank you so much for gifting that sub. Really appreciate it, Dark Silver. Thanks for the support. Just to let everybody know who just dropped in from Zero State stream, I take no monies for myself. Any and all monetization I get from streaming and my videos and such, I donate in their entirety to stackup.org, which is a veterans organization. What they do is they help connect veterans and active duty military members with video games and video game communities to combat PTSD and the struggles of separation, to do with deployment and being on active duty. And so they send out things, what they call like supply crates, basically with video games, game systems, TVs, monitors, all peripherals, what have you, to different people, veterans and military members, to help connect them with gaming. Like I'm doing right now. I'm a veteran, I'm a member of the military, and I use, this is my community, and I enjoy hanging out with you guys, and this is what helps, me mitigate the effects of my own PTSD and all that. So yeah, Stealth Drive, it literally does. Being able to, especially, for people, there's a lot of veterans who struggle with PTSD. There's a lot of veterans who also deal with injuries and struggle with isolation, and being able to connect with people via gaming and video game communities is for me personally, and I know for a lot of other people, one of the best ways to combat PTSD. So I really want to say thank you guys for dropping by. If you suffer through an ad, just know that suffering through that ad is supporting StackUp.org. Last year, myself and the community, we raised nearly $2,000 for StackUp.org. And since I started raising money for them, I've raised almost $2,500. So I think it's a good cause, and I just appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. Consider giving me a follow. I'd love to see more support. And thanks for coming by, and I hope you'll stick around. Right now we're reading about the Eoluth system. And so what I do is I go through the system and the planets, and I also look at them and their location on the Ark Starmap in relation to one another and try and put it all together. Stealth Drive says I'm a vet as well, and I know, it certainly does. PODTOF, 21-year retired vet here. Thanks for doing what you're doing. Glad to do it. It's a pleasure. And it's fun. This is what I do for fun in the evenings, is I come hang out with you people. Sometimes I do the streams like this where we're just looking at the lore. Last night we did the Pathfinders podcast, looking at the monthly reports. Tomorrow night is co-op game night. Looks like we're probably going to be playing Starship Troopers Extermination with the community, and so that'll be a bunch of riotous good fun, a bunch of swearing and frustration as we get dismembered and disemboweled by bugs. So let's keep reading about the Eoluth system. So discovered in standard Earth year 981 BCE, so a long time ago. And this is in the Xi'an Empire. It was immediately earmarked by the Xi'an government for development as a nature preserve. And so what the Xi'an do is they will dedicate entire planets and even entire star systems specifically to one thing. If you are maybe a Warhammer 40k fan, think of it as like, your hive planets, your industrial worlds, your military worlds. What do they call the ones that are your agri worlds that are, they're designed entirely around one specific purpose. And so this one is essentially the entire system was dedicated as a nature preserve and essentially a park. So they probably found pre-existing life there or developing life, and so they are, they made it a nature preserve. So it says the third planet, Koli, was terraformed and seeded with every single known plant and animal species that originated in Xi'an territory. Most food and resources needed to support the workers who maintain Koli are imported into Eoluth in order to preserve the sanctuary's carefully crafted...
Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Part of the ship.
Part of the crew.
Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Part of the crew. Part of the ship. Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Pilot Error, thank you so much for the follow. Really appreciate the support. Thanks for coming by and hanging out. That's weird. The sound alert worked that time, but it didn't work when we played him with the crayons. Huh. Curious. Okay, so let's bring this back to lore equals gameplay. Okay, I just see that Blizzrad redeemed it and it said that it didn't work. Huh. Why is that not playing? That's really strange. I'm sorry that's not working. That's a bummer. I will... Yeah, so there's always troubleshooting to do with streaming. I'm sure Zero State has run into this a million times where, you update OBS or something happens and all of a sudden something's not working and you don't know why it's suddenly not working. So bring this back to gameplay. When I read about this system, I totally think about science and exploration, because a lot of science and exploration gameplay is going to be, revolve around, scanning, not only locations, parts of space and planets and stuff, but also scanning and collecting samples. And so if you are into science gameplay in the future, and obviously we're a ways away from there, but eventually, if you are wanting to do science gameplay and exploration gameplay, this might be a location that you would want to go visit in order to obtain samples, in order to, scan and study flora, fauna, what have you, in order to bring that information back to whoever wants it. Because obviously you want to get this information for not only, you want to get paid, because you got to pay for your dang gas, but also, for reputation. So if you're trying to, boost your reputation with, some scientific organization in the UEE, or maybe, a particular university in the Retor system or something like that. Think of it, those sorts of groups, in order to boost your reputation, they might give out missions to go to a planet like Coley or to a system and go there. And we want you, it kind of like missions we've gotten in previous other MMOs, go find this animal, or go find 5 of them, and, scan them or collect samples or something like that, and bring them back to me, or, get them and then do this experiment on them to get this result. Hey, Info Runners, good to see you. How you doing? 07, hope you're doing well. Is this Info Runners as in just execute, or are you hanging out with Al? Or, because if you can't see, I've got Al's portrait directly behind me. Victoria, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming and hanging out. So yeah, that's what I think of when I read this article about the Eolith system, and this is sort of an example. Just you. What do you mean, just you? Good to see you, X. I hope you're doing well. I'm sure you're as glad to see CIG back in the saddle as I am these last week or two. And that Twisk this week in Star Citizen that came out today, I'm hyped for this week. I'm hyped for ISC and SEL. It sounds interesting.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Oh, geez. Stealth Drive with the sub for 3 months. Thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much. We are off to a banger start this year. I think we've had 6 subs in the last 2 days or something like that, or no, 4 days, because I was streaming on Friday. Just to remind everybody, that sub money that Stealth Drive just dropped on the channel in the community, that will go to stackup.org. So, and when I get the payouts from Twitch and YouTube, what I do is I screenshot the receipt of the payout, and I screenshot the receipt of the donation to the donor drive, my donor drive on stackup.org. And I posted on Twitter, I posted in my Discord saying, yeah, here's the evidence. This is you guys, supporting my channel, and here's me paying it forward to stackup.org. Victoria just subscribed at tier 1 for 5 months. Thank you so much. You are a legend. I really need to up my game and make it so that way when these come through, there's like a sound bite or something. I thought I had something, but maybe that broke too. Oh God. Such an amateur. Yeah, it really does make January drag, X. It does, because we're all back from the holidays, and it's the new year, and we're like, okay, any day, CIG, come on, we're waiting. They earn their break, but it does make it hard when we're in sort of a little bit of a drought. A drum snare, yeah, I could do something like that. But yeah, so here's the thing. Visitors to the system are permitted, but commercial development is strictly forbidden. Humans first became aware of the system in standard Earth year 2602 when a Banu information Suli sold the location of the jump points to the UEE. So, Banu information Suli, there's just a little hint drop there of if you're an explorer, you don't necessarily have to everybody always talks about selling information, exploration information to the UEE. If you don't like the UEE, you could sell that information. If you're an explorer and you find a jump point, or you're mapping something and you find something new, you can sell that information to a Banu information Suli. You not only get paid in Banu, I don't know what's their currency called, but you also would get the reputation with them. If that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to build up, Banu bucks. If you're trying to build up your Banu reputation, that would be a great thing. So Visitors to the system are permitted. You better believe that you would not be permitted to come to the system and go exploring if you didn't already have some good reputation with the Xi'an. Info runners, I will not be able to make it to CitizenCon this year, unfortunately. My wife is due in May, June, and so we're having twins. Yeah, and we already have a 2-year-old, and so once we found out that we were having, it was already iffy when we found out we were pregnant the week before CitizenCon this year, and I was like, oh, nice knowing you. Yeah, my life as we know it is ending. But when we found out we were having twins, she basically put her little foot down and stomped on all my plans for this year of going anywhere for anything, whether it's business or personal. Like I help organize a conference that's usually in either August or September. It's a medical conference for what I do. I don't get to go. I get to help plan and support remotely, but yeah, I don't get to go this year. I don't get to go to CitizenCon. Yeah, diaper fund activate. Yeah, no joke. It's a good thing I just got a raise. Thank God. Yeah, we'll just go with that. Paul will back us up with the lore there. Yeah. Twins are awesome, man. Congrats, and you'll absolutely love it. Thank you so much for the support, Pilot Air. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride. I'm excited and scared at the same time, but we have been working really hard over the last 6 weeks to get ready. Yeah, 3 future turret gunners. Yes, I've got a whole fire team, essentially. But yeah, that's why I haven't been podcasting or doing any shows for the last 6 weeks, is because we're getting ready to move. We're buying a bigger house. We're moving across town. We had to find a house. We had to get our house ready to sell. We had to do all that stuff. It's just been nuts. I've been swamped, and finally we got everything under contract this last week. So I'm back at it now that I have a little bit of breathing room. So yeah, these are the sorts of things that you really want to pay attention to. And this is the kind of stuff that you'll really want to look in on the, once we get the star map in game. So that way you as part of your planning for, hey, do I want to take this mission? Because you might get this mission offered to you, and before you accept it, because you don't want to accept it and then renege on it, because that might hurt your reputation. You might want to look into, hey, this mission is offered, and you don't accept it yet, and you're going to look at the star map and find out, okay, what do I need to know about this star system, this planet, this space station, before I accept this mission, so that way I don't get into a problem of not being able to complete the mission or not being able to complete it on time, that sort of stuff. Pilot Air says, seriously, my twins just turned 11 and they are my turret gunners now. Better than better than buying AI blades. I like it. And so hopefully Star Citizen is around when my kids are old enough. But that's the plan. Gotta start them off early. Because obviously gaming is my hobby, so I'm hoping that they wanna join in it with me. Potato to Win says, good luck selling. I hate open houses. We had like 15 showings in a span of 8 days. Before we finally got a cat. Not finally, I mean, it happened pretty quick. The market here where I live in Boise, Idaho, is still pretty hot. It's cooled a lot over the last 2 years, but things can still go pretty quick. And we because we have a lot of equity, we're able to price it pretty aggressively, and so we got a cash offer. And so we're pretty fortunate that things are moving pretty quickly. We're due to close on the sale of this house on the 16th and close on the purchase of the new house on the 16th. So the goal is to be all moved in and everything before the end of February. Because the twins, the 36-week mark, which is the sort of the median of when they're due, and generally when 36 weeks is about when twins normally deliver. And that's the very end of May for right now for us. But my wife is also measuring, the twins are also both measuring a week ahead. So it's really like the 3rd week of May. Like Invictus launch week, I'm going to miss it. And my wife doesn't even care. But yeah, so I work in critical care transport. I'm a critical care paramedic, and so I take care of a lot of high risk pregnant mothers. I take care of a lot of premature born children and such. And so I know firsthand that things don't always go as planned. And so we wanted to be moved in before March, so that way we've got all of March, all of April to be in the house and situated and get everything ready to go. So that way, if they come a little bit early, we're ready. We're okay. So, yeah. But yeah, the Eoluth system is very interesting because it's so different than so many of the other systems. There really aren't a whole lot of places like this. You can kind of liken it back to almost like the Fair Chance Act systems in the UEE, where there's developing life on a system, or one of the systems is actually a developing system. It's basically like a nebula where planets are still forming that's protected. And those systems are basically off limits unless you are escorted by the UEE Army through the system and you have permission to go through there. But there's also, you have to have basically, high reputation with the UEE to be able to go down to these planets. You can't even set foot on these planets. You have to use what are called research drones. There's an article for them here on the Galactapedia in order to go down and explore these planets where there are protected species on these planets. How dare she plan the sexy time right in line for Invictus launch weeks? How disrespectful. Well, to be fair, if we were having one kid and the due date would have been at the end of June. So we were planning it for essentially after Invictus launch week. But basically it's her genetics, that her family has a whole bunch of twins in it. So her genetics said, no, I want to ruin Invictus launch week for you. Because you're going to be in the hospital or you're going to be at home and not getting any sleep and have 2 brand new babies to take care of. She planned it. She knew. Yes, she's probably listening, or she's probably watching right now incognito, and she yes, ruin your Star Citizen experience for your favorite event throughout the year. Yeah, no joke. All right, so like I said, let's back out. So it's misspelled here on the star map, but here is the Eoluth system. Basically, if you load into the star map, I always leave it in this orientation, so if you wanted to look at it yourself, you can look at it in the same way. But I sort of treat it as if, like, this is north-south, and this is west-east, or east-west, something like that. Basically, here's the Eoluth system, and down here is Stanton. And so here's Pyro, here's Magnus, here's Terra. This is essentially the part of these systems are like what were the Perry line. And so you can see that the Eoluth system is connected to Oya, which is a UEE star system, but it's connected by a small jump point. But you could also get there via Virtus and Towhill via large jump points. Gurzel, Horus, routes over here. So there's multiple ways to get there. But just keep in mind, the star map is really interesting to use, and a lot of people, it's very underutilized. And there's a lot of features and abilities that it has, and it has been getting what I call stealth updates for years since it was first released. The sizes of systems have changed. The placement of planets within the systems has changed. The sizes of the planets and has changed. All sorts of stuff like that. The jump point sizes have changed from different systems. So it's interesting stuff. So Eoluth, Tualu. Yeah, sure, that's what we'll call it. We'll read about that. It looks like it's probably it's in the Eoluth system. So Tualu is the first planet from the sun of the Eoluth system in the Xi'an Empire. A gas dwarf. A gas dwarf-like puffy planet. So instead of a gas giant, it's a gas dwarf. And I'm getting hung up on this because I have read every Galactapedia update. I've read every original galactic guidepost for the Star Citizen, the systems of Star Citizen. I watched all the videos of Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy. I can't remember them ever mentioning a gas dwarf-like puffy planet or using that verbiage. But Tuvalu has a diffuse, low-density atmosphere that is slowly eroding due to radiation from the star it closely orbits. The gas around Tuvalu is being gravitationally drawn toward the star instead of away from it, creating an interesting sight for those who possess the correct viewing equipment. Astronomers predict that the planet will gradually become a super-Earth as its atmospheric gas continues to evaporate. Huh. Okay, so as the gas evaporates and the gas layer above the core of the planet evaporates, it'll lose its atmosphere and then become a super Earth, which Terra is actually a super Earth in game. Hey, Axis, rating with Party of One. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Good to see you, buddy. Axis, aka Zyron, was on Captain's Table with myself and Space Tomato. Captain's Table being one of the Astropub's shows. This on Saturday. Today's Monday, right? Yeah. So good to see you again, buddy. Hope you had a good stream. Thanks for coming and hanging out. So again, if we're going to bring this back to gameplay, this is definitely more of that science gameplay, exploration type gameplay, because the way they're describing the atmosphere eroding and being drawn gravitationally towards the star, creating an interesting sight for those who possess the correct viewing equipment. So you could get a mission, or a mission contract, whatever, from a astronomer from a university in Retor, or maybe an astronomer with the UEE, the UEE's version of, it wouldn't be NASA, but some sort of space exploration department within the UEE, to go and do a scan of this. But you would have to have the correct equipment to scan that atmosphere being drawn away, or you might need to go and scan the planet to take measurements to see how that progress is coming along, to find that information. And again, in order to do that, you'd have to have the appropriate level of reputation to even get into the system, because it's a giant system.
Part of the ship.
Part of the ship.
Part of the crew.
Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Part of the crew. Part of the ship. Man. Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Yako Warner followed the channel. Thank you so much for the support, Yako. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for coming and hanging out and joining us, being a part of the community. So yeah, this is because this is a ongoing progress. This is a repeatable mission that as you get, as different people get different reputation with, whoever the mission giver would be, they would be tasked with going and getting updated scan data to see how the progress is going with this stellar phenomenon. Axis says, unfortunately had issues with OBS early and had to delete the entire file to read. Oh man, rough. See, and I'm complaining about my sound alerts not working appropriately. With my crayons from Twitch. So, and I feel you. I always hesitate to update OBS because I know that something's going to get messed up. Iris Dreadtide says, have they announced more than like 2 science ships so far? Nope. We really have the Endeavor, and I guess the Carrack really functions as a science ship as well. And then there's one of the Reliant variants is a science ship. Which one is it? X. You would know this. But yeah, is it the Sen? I always get them all confused. I can never, because there's 4. But yeah, so this is another one of those things where when they get around to doing science gameplay, exploration gameplay, I expect we're going to have just as many of those, of ships towards those profession ships as we do for mining, as we do for salvage, and we're not done with those either. I wish they were more reliantable. But yeah, get out. Yeah, the Sen. There's the Tana, the Sen. Oh gosh, I always forget. because the Reliant is really the sort of forgotten ship in Star Citizen. Probably more so than anything else. But yeah, so that's the planet Tualu. And we can see here in the star map, we'll get back into the system. And like I said earlier, Eolus is only 3 AU. It's a very small system as it stands right now. CIG could change the size of the system. We don't know how much more they're going to change the size of the systems, but they have changed system sizes in the past. Some have gotten bigger, some have gotten smaller. It goes both ways. So here it is, very close to the star. But not within the green band, the green belt, the habitation zone. So even if this did eventually become a super Earth, it might not be habitable due to its proximity to the star. So let's read about the next one. Kayup Uang. Kayup something like that? Sure. Xi'an naming. Like, the CIG is really bad at naming. They've got all these different things that are named the same thing, but man, Xi'an stuff is hard to pronounce. At least for this, American, butchers everything that isn't American English. Kayupiang is the second planet from the sun of the Eolu system. Typo. A smog planet. This is Xi'an. A smog planet. It has the densest atmosphere of all rocky bodies in. Oh, close that. That's my mother-in-law saying. We need to ignore that. No, it's not the time. Which creates levels of surface pressure that are highly dangerous for landing spacecraft. It doesn't say that you can't land there. It just says that it's highly dangerous. It lacks a magnetic field and instead has an induced magnetosphere, which is carried from its sun by stellar wind. Increased cosmic radiation leads to increased electrical storm activity and an ongoing loss of hydrogen and oxygen ions. So this is really going to be more keeping in line with that science and exploration gameplay. This is going to be like your higher level science and exploration missions and contracts. Really, they would want you to go and scan these storms or go down to the planet and measure these atmospheric pressures, take readings, what have you. And you'd have to have the right, it would be dangerous, so it would pay more, net you more reputation. But you'd have to come equipped with the appropriate ship. You might have to have like reinforced shields, those sorts of things in order to make it doable. But yeah, very high surface pressure. But yeah, that's the way I would sort of bring this back to gameplay if that's what we're talking about. This would definitely be more science and exploration, and it's a really good way for CIG to make it so that way smog planets are actually like, not just dead end planets that nobody goes to in Star Citizen, because smog planets are very common in space. Venus is a smog planet. So it allows them to not have to do a whole bunch of lore retcons in order to make every planet, visitable and worth visiting, but also make the universe believable and make sense by having these types of planets on them. Give you a reason to go there, a reason to do something related to them. And here you can see the planet right here, still on the inner edge of the green belt. And then there's an asteroid belt out here too. So let's learn about Koli, Xi'an Nature Preserve. Koli is the third planet from the sun of the Eolu system, Xi'an Empire. Soon after it was discovered, the Blizzard says, "I'd love for planets like Venus where you need expensive equipment just to survive on them for big wars." Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's, you have to have like a really robust research drone. You can't use the sort of standard Drake one that's made out of tin foil and paper clips. You got to have the really strong, robust one to deploy from your Carrack, as you've landed on the planet, to get these measurements and to go out and scan these storms and stuff. You're part of your planning and getting ready to go do these sorts of things. Soon after it was discovered, the Xi'an government elected to terraform Koli and use it as a nature preserve for all known plant and animal species in Xi'an space. I wonder how that works with terraforming the planet and making it work for all the species. Like, what if the planet, did they meticulously make it so there's like a biome from each planet somehow? Like, that's crazy to think about. Yeah, it definitely gives ships like the Odyssey and the Endeavour Explorer cab something to do. Yep, I agree. Especially because the way that the Endeavour Explorer cab was talked about, it's supposed to be like really tough and strong. So that makes a lot of sense, being able to take that down there to collect the samples, to bring them back up to your lab and such. Maybe you would have to use something like that versus using a research drone that you would deploy from orbit. Poaching is restricted, and those caught in the act are subject to heavy punishment. Let's bring this back to gameplay, because just like in the Fair Chance Act systems in the UEE, the UEE Army patrols those systems and has stations and ships protecting those systems to prevent people from poaching the protected species on those planets. But you better believe that there will be unlawful contracts, missions for people, saying, "Hey, I'll pay X amount of money plus you get this reputation if you can go. It's a fetch quest. Go collect 5. What are the hides that you can transport right now that are for smuggling missions? The Osoian hides. Where do you think those are going to come from? Poaching missions. And you're going to have to either get down there fast and find them quickly and then make a quick getaway, or you're going to have to sneak and use stealth in order to get down there to get these animals. Well, if this whole planet has protected species from all over the Xi'an Empire, and the Xi'an are defending it, it's going to be, imagine how much of a challenge is this. These are going to be high level hunting missions, essentially, or high level unlawful hunting missions to find these animals for whatever reason, or even plants, to get these samples. Maybe you need them to create a really rare and super expensive drug, or maybe the flesh, the liver of whatever is a delicacy, and it goes for fortune on the black market. All that sort of stuff, just like we have here on Earth, right now, going to be a thing in game. But if you get caught, ooh bad. Additionally, the unauthorized import of living species is prohibited to prevent disruption to the ecosystem. In Standard Earth year 2933, an outbreak of flow pets caused by a visiting human led to increased penalties for anyone caught trying to release an animal or plant vegetation. So this is also just sort of hinting at the level of scanning that will be going on this planet. They're going to be scanning your ship in detail to make sure that you don't have invasive species that have hitched a ride on your ship. So it's going to be very difficult to get down onto the planet if you illegally to do bad things. So things to consider. But this is what Lore Equals Gameplay is all about, is exploring these things and these implications and what it means for what CIG will eventually be creating for us to do. We're probably going to get to see the starts of this sort of gameplay in the not too distant future, because the CIG is looking at releasing fauna and creatures to Star Citizen this year. And you better believe we're going to have those missions to hunt down whatever, collect this many, whatever, and some of them will be protected and some of them not. But, this is tried and true MMO behavior that is very much based in reality, and there are going to be a lot of factors that play into this that tie into other gameplay systems that CIG has talked about, like reputation, like stealth, tuning your ship, that sort of stuff. Yeah, big game hunting. Iris Dreadtide, Cult of the Endeavor. Yep. I have one. I have a CCU to it. So I'm going to be using mine as a hospital ship, though, if I end up applying that CCU. So that was Coley. What the F? Okay. The HE planet. Not even going to pronounce that. Nope, not even going to try. Look at that. What the hell? I want to see Jail try and pronounce that. That's nuts. Oh, okay. So this is how they say whatever asteroid belt. So it's the first asteroid belt of the Eoluth system. The government allows a tightly capped quantity of water ice to be extracted from the belt under close supervision, solely to support those who reside full-time in Eoluth as protectors and supervisors of the nature preserve on Coley. After the water is brought to the various space stations scattered throughout the system, so there's going to be multiple space stations, it is inoculated with minerals and microorganisms and aged to suit it to the Xi'an flavor palette. Yako Warner says, I can pronounce that. It's, smash keyboard buttons. Yeah. I hope we get taxidermy. Oh my gosh. So that, I guarantee you, I'm not going to say guarantee you, but I bet that will be a thing. I bet if you go do some big game hunting and take it back to the right NPC, that you'll turn it into them, and you'll turn the kill into them, and after a period of time, you'll get the taxidermied animal in your inventory, and you'll be able to display it in your hab, your hangar on your ship, your outpost, homestead, what have you. If CIG doesn't do that, both legal and illegal, just like the big game hunters of yesteryear, I'll be very disappointed. Yeah, and the pelts and such, the fire. I want the Yeti, the Boreal Stalker pelt on the floor in front of the fireplace in my outpost, homestead. Hell yeah, So Nazareth and I did a big podcast about this, but this is one of the ways in which CIG will monetize Star Citizen. In order to be less dependent on selling ships, they will monetize this stuff. And either you can go out and do the big game hunting yourself, and get the achievement in game, or you can just buy it and it'll cost you real bucks. But you won't get the achievement in game, blah, blah, blah. And so this is, and some things probably will only be available in game. Other things you'll be able to buy. But this is how CIG is going to monetize this game. It is customization, via aesthetics and decoration. So yeah. But this is talking about how this asteroid belt in the Eoluth system is utilized. So there is a lot of water ice to be mined here. And so you can do that under contract with the Xi'an Empire to meet their needs, and they'll pay you for the water ice, and they're going to supervise you. And in order to get these contracts to go mine the water ice, you'd have to have a certain reputation with them to even be allowed in the system to do it. Or I bet you, because the government says allows a tightly capped quantity of water ice, you could do illegal mining there in order to get your ice or whatever else you find there. Because if they say you're only allowed to mine water ice, well, what if you find something else that's valuable in that asteroid belt? And the Xi'an haven't given you permission to mine it. That's illegal mining. We have illegal mining in game right now. So yeah, lore equals gameplay. There you are. Museum might also pay for rare species. Oh yeah, for sure. Whether you hunt them and bring in samples, or whether you capture them, your sedative gun, your dart gun, and then you have to have the right cargo container and the right supplies to put into the cargo container and transport it in the right environment to bring it back to that planet. That's a long-term mission. But that's cool. That's cool gameplay. And that's something that is easily well within the realm of possibilities for CIG. That's stuff that other games have done. It's just putting different pieces of missions together and different gameplay elements to create something new and interesting and different. Not limited to human contracts either. Yeah, absolutely. For different species and such. So that's looking at the asteroid belt, which is smack dab in the middle of the green band. So here's Coley, that preserve world on the inner edge of the green band. Here's that asteroid belt within it. And then you can see these jump points out here. And here's Eoluth 4. So let's read about Zayekyu or Yekyu, not sure, orbited by housing stations. So, Yekyu is the fourth planet from the sun of the Eoluth system, Xi'an Empire, a gas dwarf. Its swirling blue and white atmosphere hides a rocky core and an icy ocean of ammonia and water. The platforms. So interesting, because it says orbited by housing stations, but in here it says platforms. So whether it's platforms like on Crusader in Orison, or they're saying platforms like stations, we don't know. But it is a gas dwarf, so similar to Crusader. And who knows, the Xi'an might have the technology to have their own Orison. What would the Xi'an commercial or for Orison sound like? Orison, city in the clouds. The platforms that serve as housing for the scientists, managers, and protectors of the nature preserve on the nearby planet are mostly located in orbit around Yekyu. So these stations are definitely going to be trade hubs, but also be places where you would do transport missions. So these people would be coming and going throughout the Xi'an Empire, and they need to get picked up from one place, taken to another, whether this is their starting destination or ending destination. Again, you'd need Xi'an reputation to take these contracts for moving people, but you'd also need the Xi'an reputation to bring the supplies and things to the people who live on these stations. Some of it would be just normal living stuff, your food, clothes, that sort of stuff, but other things might be specific to the different trades. So the scientists, the administrators, the sort of military, the police, whatever they want, the Xi'an want to call them, whatever they need to do their job specifically. And so there's the planet right there. The stations would be in orbit out here. Alrighty, and here we go. So Puang Kil, the system's primary pit stop. Interesting. Okay, so that's further out. Okay, here's Eoluth 5. Puang Kil is the fifth and final planet from the sun of the Eoluth system, Xi'an Empire. A gas giant with a pale red and white atmosphere, it is the sole source of unprocessed hydrogen in the system. Although most mining is prohibited in Eoluth in order to protect the nature preserve on Koli, a few automated fuel processing platforms and service stations have been allowed to extract hydrogen from Puang Kil. Visitors can have their spacecraft towed to these stations in the event of an emergency. So, this is CI, and Paul and I talked about this on Saturday. This is so not subtle of CIG, telling you exactly the type of gameplay that you can expect here. So there's a gas giant here, and there are fuel stations for processing the hydrogen gas into fuel to be used by ships. And so there will be contracts from the Xi'an for you to go and collect the gas and take it to the processing platforms for creation into fuel. And there will also be, if somebody runs out of fuel, or their ship is damaged or breaks down or something like that, they won't be towed anywhere else. You will have to take your Argo SRV and tow them to these stations to be refueled, repaired, what have you, in the sort of outer system. So this is CIG being not subtle. They're telling you straight up what gameplay to expect regarding this planet and the area around it, and how it ties into the greater Eoluth star system. So very cool stuff. That's it for the Eoluth system. So let's back out, because I think the next one is Ryla. All right, so yeah. So the Ryla system, former military center. So again, pardon me, let me drink some water. No Warriors access, Zyron, whichever you prefer to go by. Totally don't, by all means. I love to hear the conversation, hear your thoughts. You're not distracting. The back and forth of the community is what I enjoy. And I only have one small brain and two eyes that are... I still have good eyesight, but it's not getting any better. And so, as I'm reading these things, if you guys see things that I'm not seeing, if you guys have information that maybe I'm not aware of that's relevant to the conversation, absolutely, chime in and chat. I want to hear it. I want to hear your thoughts. Those discussions are my favorites. That's why I do this show, because I like to hear not only your reactions to what I'm putting, the content I'm putting out, but I want to, the conversations back and forth is the how we all learn and how we get better understanding of the information that CIG puts out. Yeah, dreaded grunt brain, no joke. Yeah, Osoian hides. Yep. Yeah. GQBD. Did I say that right? So, the Ryla system is a planetary system in the Xi'an Empire that consists of one protoplanet, one puffy planet, another puffy planet. Are they just going to call all gas dwarfs puffy planets? Or is it specifically mean that in context of that gas dwarf that was losing its atmosphere? I don't know. But this is, 2 articles in a row that mention puffy planet where I haven't heard that before. 2 terrestrial planets, 1 super Earth, and 1 dwarf planet. First developed as a military training system. So again, this is keeping up with the theme of the Xi'an, where they will dedicate entire star systems or planets to a specific purpose, a specific task. Orson, the city in the puff. Oh man. What if there was a whole planet where the atmosphere, had hallucinogenics in it, or mood enhancers? There's something in the atmosphere that makes people just happy and giddy. P. Diddy owns them, so Puffy Planet. Yep. Yeah. Hundreds of generations later, his descendants own the planet. He's become a trillion. His descendants have become trillionaires. So first developed as a military training system. This will be interesting. By the Xi'an government, it has been transformed into a center of industry since the end of the Xi'an Human Cold War. Standard Earth year 2530 through 2793. In the interest of sustaining peace between the Xi'an Empire and the UEE, transformed into a center of industry since the end of the Xi'an Human Cold War in the interest of sustaining peace between the Xi'an Empire and the UEE. It has become a center of trade between the two empires thanks to its jump point to the UEE-controlled Horus system and financial incentives from the Xi'an government, who have relaxed restrictions on immigration. So you'll probably find a not insignificant human population in the system. But because it's transformed into an industry system, a lot of things produced by the Xi'an will need to be taken from here to to human and Banu markets. So you'll go here to pick up items, but you also come here to bring resources and materials for the production of those items. But in order to do it, again, if you're going to go do this business with the Xi'an, you're going to have to develop your reputation, because they're a bit paranoid and they won't just let you into their system just because you want to come and do a job. You'll have to have probably had some elevated Xi'an reputation by association, if that makes sense. You have worked with other organizations. Maybe your reputation with the UEE is high enough that, hey, the UEE trusts you enough, so therefore the Xi'an is going to give you a chance. Yeah, like a nitrous oxide gas giant. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's sort of the theme. Every system has sort of a theme to it that branches out in different directions depending on the planets and the locations within that system. So the Ryla system, which is connected to Eolus over here, but you can see that it's connected to Horus via a small jump point, and then connected to Gurzel via a large jump point. And so Horus is connected to Keel. Keel is a heavily populated UE system. The planet of Severus is there. I forget the name of the city on the planet of Severus, which is where it's like the home of IAE. That's where the main IAE is. Every other, like the IAE that we have in Stanton, there is one of many satellite IAEs that go on throughout the UEE. But the original and the primary one is in the Keel system, and it used to be a big military system, and now it's a big trade system because they have this giant spaceport, for ships coming and going. But so you can go from Keel to Horus to Ryla. You could go from Hadrian to Gurzel to Ryla. And again, there are going to be some restrictions on this based off the ship size. But you can see that Terra connects you to Hadrian, and Hadrian has a bunch of space stations in it that are it's basically Hadrian is a giant trade hub for the UEE. And so a lot of hauling goes through there, going to different places like Castra, over to Keel, back to Terra, and so on. Yeah, Stanton IAE pales in comparison. Yeah, giant floppy people. the wacky from Family Guy, the wacky flailing arm guy, or wacky flailing tube arm guy thing. So yeah, but if you think about it, and this is speculation because CIG hasn't come forth and said how the jump points will impact ship sizes in years. They have been very dodgy around that, but there's essentially the only the only way to get to Ryla via large jump points, if you were restricted to large jump points, would be to go from Eoluth, and this is coming from the UEE, so go to Eoluth, back to Virtus, and to Tohill, and then from Tohill to Nyx, and then from Nyx to Castra, and so on. So it's a much longer route if you were bringing maybe a, say, and this is just for discussion purposes, but say a whole E requires a large jump point, and you had to bring a whole E's worth of goods to Ryla or take it out. You're looking at a long detour around to get back to the UEE and back to core trade and industry systems, and then vice versa. If you're bringing a bunch of material into Ryla from the UEE on a large, say a whole E, maybe that's a thing. Maybe it won't be. We don't know. It's just something to think about and consider. X says, doesn't mean the old info isn't on point about the jump points. Yeah, and X, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they say originally way back when that, like, for example, the largest ship that could fit through a small jump point was a freelancer, and that was ages ago. There's been a lot of ships since then, but yeah, we don't know how that's going to play in. And like now, we've got Idris's coming in from Pyro into Stanton, and the Stanton Pyro jump point is a medium jump point. See, medium. So it's difficult to speculate on, but it's something to consider. Yeah, the Stanton to Pyro is a medium jump point as it stands right now. It could change, but it hasn't. And jump point sizes from different systems have changed over the years on the star map. So something to think about, something to consider. Yeah, so let's see. X says, so you can, from Oxford language, learn, extrapolate medium ship or size 3 is the smallest jump point max. Yeah, yep, okay. Were you doing talk to text? I don't know what that first bit was about. But so yeah, if we're a freelancer, being a medium ship would be the smallest ship that could go through a small jump point, right? That's what you're saying? Am I following? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yep. I'm pretty sure I'm picking up what you're throwing down. But and this is just going off the star map based of how it is right now. But this is what if these are some of the implications that you really need to consider, and for me that I consider when buying a ship, because there is going to be some travel restrictions. You're not going to always be able to take the most direct route. That's why the route planner thing is right here. So you can use that to find the most direct route from a planet, to another planet, and so on, via different size jump points. And it's all speculation, but it's the best that we've got. So that's the Ryla system. So let's look at the planets in the Ryla system. Chui, just a little rock. Oh, and so as it stands right now, the Ryla system is, I think that says 36 AU. It's hard to, the text size is so small on the font. 36 to 35. So it's a good size system. It's pretty big. That's a pretty star. It's like, gives off like a purple hue. That's interesting. I hadn't noticed that before. Pardon me. Hydrate, everyone. Everyone drink some water. Take care of your kidneys. Yeah, so X says size 4 and size 5 would be medium jump point, and size 6 and up would be large. Are you referring to hangar sizes? Is that how you're classifying it? Or, and again, this is connecting the dots on their own talks over the years. Yeah, it's multiple reference points from CIG in order to come up with a conclusion. But that's the best we have. Okay, yes, via the pad and hanger sizes. Okay, I got you. Bud Light equals water. Zarek Masters, good to see you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Yeah, we do need more intel. I'm hoping that with the medium jump point to Pyro, that when we actually get 4.0 and Pyro, that they will come out with information on that, and at least say this is what we're working with right now. It is subject to change, but this is the plan as it stands, and so that we have something to go off of. Yeah, the Xeno threat brings an Idris, but we have, when you think about it from this point of view, an Idris is, what was it? X reminder, like 240 meters, something like that, or Yeah. And because that's what we have in game right now, and the Javelin is 450, something like that. That's what we think about, and we think about that as big. But remember, things like the Bengal and the Retribution exist. So the Idris really isn't that big. And so if the jump point sizes are only small, medium, and large, those sizes have to encapsulate a pretty wide range of ships. Because we don't just have small, medium, and large ships. We have extra small through capital, and capital ranges from a Polaris to a freaking Retribution and a Bengal. So yeah, so it's you have to take that in consider, and that's why I honestly think that large jump point might start with it might be anything Bengal or Retribution and below. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah, and then there's the Kingship, and we don't even know if the Vanduul use jump points. That's the other crazy thing. Because if we're talking jump points, here we're gonna back out real quick. Sorry, little tangent, and then we'll get back to the Ryla system. But this is a good conversation. I appreciate your input, and I like to hear from you guys. So this is one of the mysteries of the Star Citizen universe that has driven me nuts for years. Is the Vanduul advance through the UE systems started in Orion. That was the first UE system that the Vanduul took. And then Tiber. And then Virgil. And last one they took was Caliban. And then they attacked Vega and Oberon. But when it comes to the only systems we have ever seen a kingship in, it's been Orion. And each time it's led to the fall of a system. Orion, Tiber, Virgil. They attacked Vega with a kingship, and we actually beat it and destroyed that kingship first time. And then Caliban. A kingship helped to take Caliban. But as far as we know, Caliban has no large jump points. And none... Yeah, no large jump points. So maybe there's a hidden large jump point going from Caliban to a Vanduul system. Maybe not. We don't know. Let's see. X says, do me a favor, look at Sol. Notice the weird placement of the jump points. Are you talking about the jump points in the Sol system? Or... Yeah, so one theory that Paul and I have tossed around is that maybe the Vanduul don't even use jump points. Or the rules of jump points don't necessarily apply to them in the same way. Or they have a way of creating wormholes. Because I haven't seen anything concrete that says they come through jump points, because they have consistently been able to get past our defenses around jump point areas. Even though it's hard to defend a jump point because it's a big area, it's very porous, there's lots of multiple points in. Yeah, they might be able to find a backdoor jump point into Sol. I feel like with how trafficked Sol is and how long we've been in it, that we would have found any backdoor jump points there by now. But who knows? But yeah, so let that thought fester in your mind regarding kingships, large jump points, and the Caliban system, because that's a mystery to me. Okay, so back to Ryla. Tangent over. Yeah, we don't know. There's a lot of info that we don't have and that we can really only speculate on. Yeah, and X-12, the X-12, which is, we don't know what ship the X-12 is, because we don't know if it's a driller or what, but how it got into the oh gosh, what system was that? It's down in the south. Oh, there's a large jump point there, but how did it get there after going through apparently multiple UE systems? Unsolved mysteries of Star Citizen. All right, let's keep going with the Ryla system. So, Chui, that's how I'm going to say it, is the first celestial body from the sun of the Ryla system, a protoplanet. It is oblate in nature, and resembles an egg pockmarked with craters. Since it had little to offer in way of resources, the Xi'an military used it as a landmark. Pardon me. During training exercises that required close proximity to the system's sun. Now that Ryla has turned towards industrial use, shield manufacturers are known to test advanced barriers against stellar radiation from the surface of Chui Chai. Okay. So, I wonder how you would go about doing that without damaging your ship. Hey, we'll pay you a bunch of money to go take this experimental shield and test it from the surface of this planet. What if it doesn't work? I don't know. Not seeing a lot of use for that planet other than what they specifically said. And I'm not sure how that worked out, but interesting. So yeah, that's Ryla 1, way in here. Let's see. Puffy planet. Puff Daddy planet. Oh, come on, interwebs, load. What? How dare you? What is going on? Yeah, perfect location for a prison. Want to escape? Burn to death. This is odd. If I click this link. Okay, the preview shows up. So I wonder if maybe that link is bad. Pardon me. Pui Aha is the second planet from the sun of the Ryla system Xi'an Empire, classified as a puffy planet or hot Jupiter. It has a large radius, but a very low density due to its proximity from its star. Since Ryla's discovery, the planet has been the main source of hydrogen for all the ships in the system and is orbited by multiple automated refinery platforms and refueling stations. So again, this is your gameplay for this planet is you're going and scooping up the gases and delivering them to the refinery platforms, and once it's refined into fuel, transporting that fuel, or maybe they're 2 in 1, not sure, but taking gases to the refinery platforms to be turned into fuel, and then transporting that fuel to ships or other locations, maybe throughout the Xi'an Empire, or using it as a source to go and refuel ships that run out of gas or require fuel, out in space. And I bet that these are also service stations, so towing ships back here when they run out of fuel, when they need repaired, that sort of thing. And you can see that is right here, well inside the green band. Pardon me again. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. Ping Leth. Ryla 3 is the third planet from the sun of the Ryla system, Xi'an Empire. Orbiting just outside of the inner boundary of the green band, it was not terraformed when the Xi'an government initially developed 2 other planets in the system. The jagged mountains that dominate the planet's rocky surface were the subject of a series of abstract sculptures constructed by the famed artist Tamsa Wheel in Sand Earth year 2951. Pardon me, I'm going to clear my throat again. So, they're the subject of sculptures. Interesting. So I bet you these jagged mountains are a tourist destination. And so if you could transport people there to go view the mountains, people there to go hike the mountains and explore them. that would be my best guess based off what they're saying in terms of gameplay associated with this planet in regards to the system. Essentially people transport to go view something worth seeing. There's a number of other things within the lore and the different updates on the Galactapedia that have talked about this is really beautiful. A lot of people go visit and look at it, and we know that people transport is going to be is gameplay in Star Citizen. So you take your E1 with people who want to go sightseeing, and they've got the transparent glass, and they can look out and take pictures, do all that sort of stuff. You have to fly within a certain range, get close enough for them to take pictures, fly at a certain speed, to achieve the mission, blah, blah, blah. Zolu Manufacturing Heartland. Oh yeah, so and then here's Pingleth right here. Zolu Rylophore, so it's spelled this way, but maybe it's pronounced Shorvu, because this is the planet. Shorvu? I don't know how you pronounce that. Is the fourth planet from the sun of the Rayla system, Xi'an Empire. Originally terraformed and developed as a planet to train military ground forces and build weapons, it was reclassified as an industrial world by the Xi'an government at the conclusion of the Xi'an-Human Cold War. Its military factories have been decommissioned and replaced with commercial manufacturing centers, and its strategy centers have become office buildings. In the early 2900s, Xi'an government established a policy of offering real estate discounts to human-owned businesses that established branches on Zhulu in an effort to facilitate easy trading between the Xi'an Empire and the UAE. So not only will you have plenty of opportunity here to deliver supplies and materials to these manufacturing facilities, but also take finished goods from them to other places, both in the Xi'an Empire and the UAE, maybe to Banu Space, what have you. But you will have human businesses that will have offices and potentially factories here that will also require cargo ships to come and bring things to them, take things from them, and so on, as well as bringing people there to go do business, to go work and function and such. So there's going to be a whole lot of trade and hauling involved with this planet. But it's interesting that there's human human locations there for human companies, and so you might if you get a certain amount of reputation with say Greycat Industrial, and they might tell you, okay, we need you to take this from this like the the new UGFs, the what are they calling them now? Oh gosh, I'm brain farting. Anyway, you might have to take things from one of the new UGFs and take it all the way to Ryla 4. Maybe it's a prototype. Maybe you're transporting data. Yeah, the new UGFs, the new distribution centers. There we go. That could be a contract, as part of your dealings with Greycat and building your reputation with them. But at the same time, you might have to have enough concurrent reputation with the Xi'an to come into the system and to go to that location. So it makes those hauling missions or data running missions, personnel transport missions, what have you, more interesting. But you're still dealing with the same parent organization. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And that's right here in the middle of the green belt. It's a habitable world. It's been terraformed. Okay, so that was Lu, and then G, a culturally vibrant habitation world. G, Ryla 5, is the fifth planet from the sun of the Ryla system, Xi'an Empire. Classified by the Xi'an government as a habitation world, it was extensively developed and meticulously organized in order to support a vast populace. So it's a Xi'an hive world. Like neighboring planet Jolu, G is friendly to visitors and has multiple areas designated for mixed populations of human, Banu, and Tavaran. The largest of these, the small city Kori Laya, has a unique culture made up of a mishmash of customs from various civilizations. So this will be a really interesting planet to visit because you'll have this giant, interspecies melting pot on the planet, and it'll be a very dense population. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of cargo hauling going back and forth, bringing goods, to this population center. Basically, food, clothes, household items, all that sort of stuff, but also bringing people to and from. Hey, you're gonna have people moving here, moving from here, and so on. There will be events probably that are interspecies events, get-togethers and such. So if you're just going to visit, to witness something, witness an in-game event, this will probably be a pretty significant location for that sort of thing. Plus, it'll be just a really interesting thing to look at, to see that probably have multiple, you'll have Xi'an architecture, human architecture, Banu architecture, even Tavaran architecture, all mixed in together. It's the ultimate use of the Rastar tool to create a city in the future. Peepaw, former military training site. Peepaw Ryla 6 is the sixth planet from the sun of the Ryla system, Xi'an Empire. A tiny dwarf planet on the edge of the system, it has no atmosphere and maintains a frigid temperature. From the surface of Peepaw, the system's sun appears to be a bright and distant star. During Ryla's time as a military system, the soldiers would conduct deep cold training exercises on Peepaw, utilizing its hostile terrain to help drill survival skills into new recruits to the Xi'an military. So I don't know how this would factor into gameplay. Maybe there's still military outposts there that the Xi'an use. Maybe there's some exploration to be involved regarding or in science gameplay with the hostile environment. I don't know. This one's kind of vague. But you can see that's out here at the edge of the system. And remember, this system was like 36 AU, so it's a pretty big system. So let's close that article on the Ryla system. And now we're going to read about the Spirit line of ships, a couple of Xi'an Emperors, and the Ninetails. So a lot of us probably already know all about the Spirits, but let's go ahead and read through these real quick anyway. Pardon me. Whenever I'm talking for a long time, my throat gets dry and I have to clear my throat a lot. I'm just not used to talking so much. The C1 Spirit is a medium hauler manufactured by Crusader that supports a crew of up to 2 people. Designed for mid-range cargo delivery and courier jobs, the Spirit comes with 64 SCU, with a 64 SCU hold and an industrial-grade tractor rig. I want to say it's a size 2. In addition, which means it can move up to a 32 SCU container. It has 4 forward-facing guns and 2 missile racks, providing its pilot with protection during trips through dangerous areas of space. So it's highlighting its ability to haul cargo through dangerous space. Stanton to Castro Run, anyone? Which is essentially the Star Citizen equivalent of the Kessel Run. In that it goes through dangerous space in terms of both the environment is dangerous, but also there's pirates. So you'll want to be able to move quickly and have some defenses if you're going alone. How many parsecs does it take the C1 Spirit to traverse the Stanton to Castro Run? E1 Spirit, medium transport. Pardon me. The E1 Spirit is a medium transport spacecraft manufactured by Crusader, designed for luxury travel. The 6 seats, so not huge. The 6 seats in the passenger cabin each have a table and a viewing screen and are situated next to large portholes that offer panoramic views of the E1 surroundings. So this is, Lore Eagles gameplay. Not only are you transporting people, but the panoramic view is important. Because if the transport mission is specific to being able to view something regarding, whether it's a planet or a nebula, who knows, something on a planet, they're going to need to have that view. The ship's weapon package comes with a twin remote turret, 4 hardpoints, and dual missile racks. Accommodations for up to 2 crew can be found behind the cockpit. Isn't that what the quote is, though? And it didn't they say like how fast can Han Solo do the Kessel Run? I'm brain farting. I just threw parsecs out there because I thought that was right, and I was like, wait, no, it's a distance, but I can't remember what he actually says. So he does the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs because of the route he takes versus other people taking a longer route, right? Am I understanding that right? I don't know. You guys tell me. I enjoy Star Wars. I'm not a big Star Wars nerd. A1 Spirit, medium bomber. Pardon me. Gosh. Oh, my throat. The A1 Spirit is a medium bomber manufactured by Crusader based on the daisy chain system used in the A2 Hercules. The A1 Spirit's chaplet rig utilizes twin racks with 5 bomb payloads that can be quickly deployed during battle. It is additionally equipped with a rear-facing manual turret, front-facing laser cannons, and dual missile racks. The A1 swaps a cargo hold from the C1 Spirit for a cargo bay that can accommodate a small vehicle for ground-based operations. I always forget that it still has a vehicle bay, that you can still carry a small vehicle in addition to the bombs. So the A1 has some utility to it beyond just being a bomber, kind of like the A2 has utility to it. It can still carry a large vehicle as well as its bombs. Emperor Chule Serua, second to last emperor of the Second Imperial Age. So the Imperial Ages for the Xi'an are kind of like the dynasties, different dynasties for the Chinese way back when. Okay, so they act like parsecs are time. Yeah, because the way he uses the quote is confusing. I always assume that maybe they use it differently to measure time in Star Wars, or that because the ship is able to take a different route, that it's able to do it in a shorter distance versus of another route. I don't know. I hope there's a place for old Valkyries to transport super economy. Yeah, the Valkyrie will definitely have a place as a passenger transport. I mean, if you remember from CitizenCon 2019, right, with the passenger transport around Microtech, and it's a Microtech owned and operated Valkyrie for passenger transport. So yeah, it'll definitely be a thing. And even more budget would be the Cuddy Black. Yeah, that name, whatever the hell that is, was the second to last emperor of the First Imperial Age. Wait a minute. So, is it the First Imperial Age or the Second Imperial Age? I think it's meant to be the first. I think this is a typo. The First Imperial Age, because that first, then second, chronologically. As the only daughter of the previous emperor, there was extensive pressure on her from her house House's Council of Three to produce as many heirs as possible in order to assure the continuance of the Rua line. And if you're not aware, the Xi'an are a matriarchal society. The emperor is actually a empress, if I'm remembering correctly, normally. In standard Earth year 1021 BC, she successfully gave birth to her son, Seang, but failed to conceive additional children in spite of repeated attempts. A lifelong lover of animals, she authorized the construction of the nature preserve on Koli. Okay, so this is tying it back to the Eoluth system and the planet Koli, and personally oversaw the creation of multiple specialized habitats for animals that had originated on the original Xi'an homeworld. And little tidbit, the original Xi'an homeworld was rendered uninhabitable during the I think it was the Xi'an Civil War, or was it during the war with the Kurthok? I can't remember when it happened exactly. I'd have to ask Paul. Paul would remember. Paul or Jail or Algrid. But the original Xi'an homeworld is no longer inhabitable, and they live on a different. The homeworld is a different planet now. Chule died in a landslide after being caught in an unexpected storm during a visit to Xi at the young age of 162. So yeah, that is very young for a Xi'an. Xi'an, usually live for several hundred years, like 500 years is kind of average, but there have been Xi'an that have lived to over 1,000, if I remember correctly, and that's standard Earth years. Emperor Yaha Se Jio, first emperor of the Second Imperial Age. Oh, come on, interwebs. Let's see. If we go back to this article, and we'll use the tag system. Let's see. Which is the one we want? We want Yaha. There we go. This one. First emperor of the Second Imperial Age. Okay. Weird. Yeah, that name was the first emperor of the Second Imperial Age, a food microbiologist. She joined her house's Council of Three when she discovered a type of bacteria that enabled quick fermentation of grains and legumes, thus staving off a potential famine on Ka'ua, Hyotan 4. So a quick tidbit about the Xi'an. The Xi'an are sort of like a carrion species. They eat their food sort of rotted and fermented and spoiled, whether it's meats, fruits and vegetables and stuff, all that. When Zhio was selected to succeed Rua as the next imperial house, so yeah, this house, let's see, as the next imperial house, she was chosen to be emperor due to her auspicious position as the youngest of three daughters. She partnered with the last Rua emperor, Seang, to lead the terraformation of Kaipua II, in honor of the Rua family's many millennia of service. During her time on the throne, she championed scientific endeavors that led to an expansion in knowledge of food preservation techniques and increased the influence of houses involved in the field of biology. Alrighty, last article for the night about the Ninetales. So Ninetales is a criminal organization based in the Stanton system. So based in the Stanton system, they are not limited to the Stanton system. They do have operations in other systems, as we'll read about here in a second. First active in standard Earth year 2938, the gang established itself by leading an attack on a prisoner transport vehicle that left 28 Terra 3. or that left 28 Terra 3 police officers dead. Pardon me, burp. And liberated Albert Sinkhole Holden, leader of the Terra-based Rangda Syndicate. So that's naming another gang, another syndicate in a different star system. Investigators believed the group was allied with Rangda until Holden was found floating in space a day later, apparently having been executed. So they liberated him from Terra Police only to execute them. That's how bad they wanted this guy dead. Over the next few years, Ninetales would conduct unpredictable attacks in over a dozen systems. A dozen systems. They are everywhere. That involved murders, robberies, and the destruction of personal and private property. In 2942, the incident suddenly stopped. Authorities had hoped that internal divisions might have destroyed the gang from the inside out, but in 2943, Ninetales abruptly reappeared and took over Grimhex in the Stanton system. Since then, they have opened a black market and have frequently clashed with Crusader security. So they are based out of Grimhex. They run Grimhex in the Stanton system. Crusader security does not have the means to move against them on Grimhex. The UEE won't do it because they're worried about the civilian population on Grimhex, because even though the Ninetales control Grimhex, they're not the only ones there. And so it's a bit of a sticky wicket for Crusader security, for the UEE and the advocacy being sort of the UEE FBI. And they keep attacking Orison. So, and they did clarify this in the lore. Siege of Orison has really only happened once. The event repeats itself, but it's not actually repeating itself in the lore. It's just once. If that makes sense. Because otherwise it just wouldn't make sense. Why are people continuing to come to Orison for tourist stuff when it's, essentially, it would equivalently be Space Somalia. And they talked about this, I think it was in the Lore Makers community questions, was where they clarified that. Same thing with Xenothreat. The Xenothreat incursion hasn't occurred, countless times. It's just occurred the one time, but, in the lore, but it plays itself out multiple times in the game. Now, in the future, how that will play out, we don't know. How they will differentiate these things, how it'll all work out. But these events are really just tests of their ability to make events using the systems and the tools that they have built. And so they might use the Xenothreat template, but with a different faction in a different system or something like that. The Ninetales lockdown is changing to... what's the new event going to be called? I forget. But they can use that same template anywhere in the Star Citizen universe with different gangs and different stations, different locations. So it's a more proof of concept stuff versus, hey, this is an ongoing problem in the Star Citizen universe. So yeah, let's go ahead and switch back to the main screen and we'll close it out for the night. That was weird. Anyway, so that is it for Lore Equals Gameplay episode 19. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has hung out for the entire episode. Thank you to everyone who has come over and hung out and been a part of the chat and the community from Zero State stream. Thank you so much for the raid, Zero State. I hope you had a good stream. I know you're probably not there anymore, but really appreciate the support. Thanks, buddy. It means a lot. Have a good night, Execute. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I'll have to come hang out in your stream soon whenever I can get a chance. But thanks for coming and hanging out, and I appreciate the conversation and the insights. That's the end of the stream, and I will be back with more Lore Equals Gameplay. So if you found this interesting, you found it informative, you found it helpful, come and hang out with me again on Wednesday night. It'll be Wednesday for me. Same time, 10 p.m. Eastern. And we'll talk more Lore Eagles gameplay. We're going to be looking at the Galactapedia update for December, using the same format, using the Ark Starmap, talking about how all this information relates to the gameplay in Star Citizen that we have and the gameplay that's coming in the future. And just a reminder, tomorrow night, at 9 p.m. Eastern will be co-op game night. Myself and the members of my community in my Discord, I'll be streaming it, but the guys will be in chat, and we're going to have a good time playing some Starship Troopers Extermination. It'll be a great time, lots of chaos, lots of people getting dismembered and eaten by bugs. And just remember, the only good bug is a dead bug. And the next Pathfinders podcast is this upcoming Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be looking at the basically Jared's wish list for 2024, CIG's New Year's resolution, the things coming into 2024 that he mentioned in the last ISC of the year. So we're going to be covering those gameplay elements. And we're also going to take a look at the financial report that was released in December that looks at the financials for 2022 and talk about what implications we can draw from that for 2023 and going forward. So thanks again for the support. Thanks for being a part of the community. Good to hear from you guys. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you have a good night.